Hey everyone, welcome to Millennium Computer's online 5-minute tutorial series. Today's course is going to take a quick look at FAST student reporting and answer the question, how do I get enrollment numbers by term and by department? I'm looking at a report in FAST Student called Registered Students. In terms of baseline delivery, it's found under your registration menu and it's called List of Students. Now, we've recently made some enhancements to this report, and I just want to show you some really cool, easy ways to capture enrollment data by term and even by department. Now, to run this report, I would first suggest entering one or more terms. I like to use my function-based filters for this report, but you're welcome to key in one or more terms in the data entry block as well. I like using the function-based filters because it allows me to save this as a pinned report and run it on a regular basis without the information becoming stale dated. We can also add additional fields here. I could add something like a degree program, a program of study, or a campus code if I want to refine these results. If I leave it as current term, this is going to pull back all students registered for my current term regardless of any other criteria. I think I'll add one more criteria, and that is undergraduate as a level. I'm just going to go ahead and execute this report. Now, once the report executes, you're going to notice here a grand total of 3,045 results. In other words, that's how many individual lines this report has generated. So this might be very useful to you. It's a lot of information, and there's a ton of detail offered in this report. I want to quickly show you some other ways you might want to take a look at this report using the advanced options. If I select my plus more button and choose advanced options, I could do a couple things here. Now, one is I could use my crosstabs, but I'd actually like to do something else called grouping. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here and select no columns. Now, all this does is clear the page for me. It allows me now to really pick and choose those fields that I want to reincorporate back into this report. Now, because I've chosen term as a report filter option, I'm not going to choose it as a report column. It's kind of redundant at this point. I am going to choose my student ID number, and you can choose the student name if you want as well. Maybe I also want to pull back in my gender, and maybe I want to also pull in the department description. Let's leave it pretty simple for now and re-execute that report. So this has now given me a really simplistic version of that initial report that was so massive. But here's the thing, it's still giving me over 3,000 individual line items. Let's go back into advanced options, and I'll show you a couple ways to aggregate this as a count rather than a list of students. I'm going to click on my plus more button, go back to advanced options, and I'm going to deselect the student name. And for student ID, I'm going to display this as a count instead of a list. This allows me to count students rather than display them. Let's scroll back down and maybe let's add back in year of student. So I want to take a look at the year of study, the gender, and the department. And let's execute that again. So now we've got a really cool report where my 3,000 plus line items have been reduced to 148. This is giving me now a count of students by gender, by department, and by year of study. Let's go back in one more time and strip this down just a little bit more. Let's actually delete that gender marker. So let's take a look at this one more time, in this case as an ID count by department and by year of study. I'm going to re-execute that one more time. And then here's my count. So now I have 79 rows that have been condensed from a total record count of 3,045. And remember, we can also move these columns around, right? So if I want to rejig this report or have things display in a different order, make this a little bit bigger, we can always make those changes as well. And this now becomes a really great data set if I actually wanted to turn this at some point into a graph or into a grid. So I hope this was a helpful introduction to how to generate enrollment data by term and by department. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you again for the next tutorial.